And hello, and welcome to the first episode. I have no idea what we've called this, but this is a get chat about games that we like, comparing them, and yeah, let's get straight into it now. I'm Jordan, and I have been playing games my whole life. I come from the UK. I'm a teacher, loving life at the moment. Only going in 3 days a week actually. Monday and Friday off. I've told you that actually, Luke. Yeah, only work Tuesday to Thursday now.
Yeah, part timers at the best of time, aren't you?
Yeah, well, we did have to go on Monday and then get told the next day, like, oh, it's been crazy, it's been bad. But yeah, um, live in England, right in the middle of Birmingham, not bad. And yeah, that's me. Luke, you want to carry on?
Yeah, my name's Luke. I don't live in a shithole. I live in Suffolk, a nice rural area of the country, and I've been playing games similar to Gibbo over here just about my entire life. I mean, the first one I think I could ever remember was Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, the game, sneaking into my dad's office to play that at night and getting,
I think I,
told off for that.
I think I played that, but I think I've got to a level we have to go in the vents, and I never got out of that level. Was that a level?
Yeah, I had to wake him up to help me with that one. He weren't happy about that. So, yeah, been on games ever since, really. I work in the fitness industry, in the supply chain.
Selling
How about you,
massage
Young?
I try not to work whenever possible. I've been playing games since about 5 years old. I've been playing games since the PlayStation 1, the epic days of the PlayStation 1, where all my joys were had. And life's just gotten worse since then, to be honest with you.
Really?
It doesn't go up from there. When you play the Harry Potter games on the PlayStation 1, a little trick you used to have to do on the PS1, well, it wasn't really a trick. But if you took the game out and left the disc thing open and didn't put another disc in, on the PlayStation 1, it would actually play the game up to where it had loaded. So my cousins came around and brought around this Harry Potter game. I was in love with Harry Potter. It was like the best game I ever played on the PS1. I'm sitting there, and then my cousin's like, "Oh yeah, don't worry, you can carry on playing it when we leave. Like you won't need to borrow it off us. You can just carry on playing it. All you need to do is just like not go into any other area." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "Well, if you go to a loading screen, it will definitely stop working. However, if you don't, you can play it forever." And I was like, all right, and yeah, anyway, I didn't know where the loading screens were. Long story short, it stopped after about 20 seconds after he left. But yeah, I've been playing games my whole life. I've played pretty much every game I physically can.
Oh my god.
And I have a massive distaste for all these random shitty indie games that everyone's obsessed with, but apart from that, it's fine.
Oh, really? Now, you like some of those. You like Darkest Dungeon, don't you, Slay the Spire?
Some of them are all right, but the people act like they've got to a point where it just became like, oh, if something's indie, then it's a good game, and it's just obviously not the case, is it? Like, I mean, we went to that phase where every single thing that came out had to be a fucking roguelite or something like that. And it's just like, every game needs to be like this, guys. We can.
I think you've already come up with the best question for our next show, to be honest. Like, is indie games worth it? But we have another question today. We'll get into that in a sec.
Okay.
But going back to you mentioned the PS1, that was my first console as well. But I remember my first game. Would you remember Crash Bandicoot?
Oh yeah.
Wrath of the
Or
Cortex
Spyro.
2.
Oh, there's so many. I've got Crash Bandicoot on my. Actually, I stole my PS4. I had it on my PS4. I stole it.
Oh god. Right. Moving
I've got,
go on. Carry on.
I've got Spyro as well at the moment on my PC.
I never had Spyro,
That was in Humble Bundle. Oh, pardon me. Sorry, Luke, I cut you off.
No, I don't mind being cut off for Spyro. Spyro's the one. Did you guys ever play the Small Soldiers game on PlayStation?
Oh
yeah. Oh.
I never played it.
This is what I mean. Like, this is the one thing that winds me up sometimes, like games these days, is every single game. Back then, it used to feel like so many games were different. Like every game was just its individual. Like even if it wasn't necessarily good, things were still different. There's so many games now which are just like, it's basically just it's that game in this shell. It's like they made like that Anthem, and I mean I never played Anthem, but apparently it was just Destiny, but BioWare's version of Destiny. And it's like, okay, well, why don't you just come up with your own game? Like,
I think
is that too much to ask?
The only newest thing that isn't really new to kind of like continue with that, with like with the first introduction of like when PUBG came out, when it was like Battle Royale was like the new thing, and that was like the biggest thing for ages. Like everyone played it, and then as you mentioned, like games back then, everyone made new stuff and no one cared. Recently, when everyone was like DayZ and PUBG was great, what was the first thing that happened then? COD. Oh, we'll do our own. That's now massive.
Yeah, every year.
Yeah,
But the problem is, it's AAA companies who are so just fucking lazy that they're just like, oh, that's popular. Like battle royales became popular from indie games, and like, okay, they weren't. I never got into. Was it DayZ the first? What was the was DayZ the first
was
one?
It Armor 3? Was it Armor 3?
Or Armor 3 or something like whatever, So that came out fine and it got popular. I was never into it, but I thought, oh great, and then it got really popular. Then all of a sudden, Epic make Fortnite, and then it's just like the second that happens, it's like everybody wants to play one. I mean,
I feel Fortnite's an odd one because like they captured the like younger game audience so well that it's like they have done so well from that game. They've just been like, oh, the battle royale's so good, but we need something a bit easier, a bit more child friendly, and that's like what everyone then now just plays for. Like, I don't know, even like the kids in our work, like in the year 6s and year 5s, all of them have got Fortnite bags walking around school.
Oh yeah. I never realised how popular Fortnite was until I realised how many young kids play it.
Yeah, it's mental, absolute mental.
Every child.
I've actually never touched it. Then again, for you of our friends from school, young, like they used to play Fortnite as well, didn't they? Quite a bit. But yeah. Anyway, geez, that took a long time. We have a lot of questions to get through, maybe in a few more weeks.
Sorry.
No, it's good. That's the whole point about it. So we all know each other, basically. I think probably for myself, really. So grew up with young in secondary school, went to uni, met Luke, and then all become friends since then. Primarily through a game called League of Legends, but that'll be another day. We'll talk about that because that is another wormhole that we're not going to go down today, probably, I'd say. So, in terms of daily life, how's everyone's week's been? Luke, how's your week been? What have you been up to?
Well, it's been all right. Back to work this week, which, having had the last month off, it's been hit me like a fucking steam train, to be honest. We got Brexit, we got a pandemic, and in supply chain, that just equals a big old shit show. So, nice to finish off the day and jump on a game and just relax, really. So, this evening's game is going to be Jurassic Park Evolution, and I'm just going to look after some dinosaurs. So, that's been the start of my week. Yeah, right. That's all I've got.
Bloody dinos, eh? Let's get a few bloody dinos, son.
Young, your week, how you been?
Yeah, it's been great, mate. There's nothing I like more than going into national lockdown again. It really, it actually brightens my soul. There's like nothing like looking outside and going, God, it get dark really early, and I'm trapped inside my house. This is good. I was looking forward to this.
Oh,
it's been alright. I worked all last week, and then I've just been playing WoW non-stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
I know. Now we're back on the grind. You can't get out.
WoW with Mario Kart. Two extremely competitive games.
God. What console are you playing Mario Kart on at the moment?
The Switch.
Oh, what's the recommendation? Do you reckon I should get it? Because I'm toying with the idea.
Yeah,
I think the Switch is a really, really good console, a really good piece of kit actually.
Insane, yeah.
I as someone who was like, I got rid of I had a PS4 and an Xbox One. I got rid of my PS4 and was like, right, I'm getting a Switch because I'm traveling for work and I want to have something I can play when I'm traveling around. And I kind of, even though I went and got it after, it was one of those things I bought it and straight away I went, was that a good idea? And it is actually like Pokemon. I mean, they've got like obviously all the standard games like Pokemon's on it. Pokemon's always Pokemon, It's still good. I mean, even now it's good.
Well, so like,
Mario Kart is always just Mario Kart, but again, Mario Kart's just a good game. Like that's the thing with Nintendo. I think you can kind of criticize how many actual new games they make in terms of like new ideas and stuff, but all the classics they bring. I haven't played Breath of the Wild yet, but I heard that's really good. I've heard that like they bought I'm pretty sure there's a Kingdom Hearts game on this. I've heard that's pretty good. I know the Mario games on it are good. I just haven't got them yet. We were talking about this earlier, Jordan. I want to get Smash. Smash looks really good.
Yeah. Smash. I think with Nintendo as a company, they've probably got the most like trusted fans in terms of they're always going to have Nintendo. Like if you were someone that had a 64 that had like Ocarina of Time and you played Zelda, like Zelda then was your game, so you played like the Cube, you played like maybe like the Wii, you just had all of them basically as well. So I think the only difference with like other consoles and Nintendo and other stuff is like they never really had like that real competitive edge in terms of actual the game itself. There was never like, as like esports are being big now, you don't ever hear of like an esports game apart from like Melee or Smash that's on Nintendo, and anywhere else like that's not really that big. That's probably the one weakness I'd probably say. Everyone plays COD, everyone plays
Yeah,
like
but
FPS and Battle Royale, so that's probably why they struggle more than the other ones, I'd say.
don't underestimate the ability to play a game while you're taking a shit, though. That in itself beats esports by a long shot. Because if you're going on a plane or you're going to the toilet or anywhere where you just need to, get away from a plug, Nintendo's the one. And like you say, their games are always on point. And that's the one big praise to Nintendo is they've not tried to perfect the wheel. They've got Pokemon, they've got Zelda, they've got Mario, and they'll just upgrade them. They won't change them all that much. You look at the FIFAs and the CODs of the world, they'll always try and change it, and in most cases that pisses off the fans.
Well, I say you try and change it. You could put FIFA 12 in front of me, and I'd probably be like, "Is this just FIFA 20?" Like, I bet the difference between like the generations of FIFA for the years have been so similar. They'll put like a few things on the back cover, and maybe like in the 5-minute trailer for it, they'll be like, "Oh, new skill sets, and you can change your kit in pro teams." It's like, what else have they actually changed over the years? So.
Yeah, the only thing they've changed is the ability to lose more money and time in it. Because again, Nintendo, they'll sell you a game and you'll get a game. COD and FIFA, they'll sell you a game and within 20 minutes you've got your credit card out again and you're buying an Ultimate Team pack or you're buying a Game Pass. And it's now more of a market for them than it is an entertainment, I feel, personally.
Yeah, true. Wow. Again, more rabbit holes have gone down. I love this. This is great. Yeah, well, my week myself, like, being a teacher and going lockdown again, literally walked into school yesterday being like, oh, we're back in it. We'll do fine. We'll manage. Come back home. Oh, 8 o'clock. Bojo's on the news. We'll have a listen. Yeah, schools are closed again. Brilliant. So, we had emergency inset today. No kids are in. And we're just trying to sort out who's in school, who's doing what. So, yeah, only working a few days a week. A lot of sending things home, marking things at home, Zoom calls with kids. Can't wait for another 6 weeks. How great. But hey, there is.
He's a legend for that one, to be honest with you. I mean, even better was the old 3 or 4 days ago. It was like, schools are 100% safe. Like, everyone should be going to them. No questions asked. It's really important to have your education. He's like, I made a little bit of a mistake the other day when I said that.
Oh,
he might be hearing this idea, but it'll be fine.
God, honestly, it looks like he's just copying Nicholas Sturgeon. To be honest, everything he's done. Like, that's what it seems like to me. It's like
that's the last thing you want to do. Fucking
he's like looking over.
Copy that miserable little bitch. Jesus Christ! No offense. That's not an anti. That's not an anti-woman thing. That's just an anti-Nicholas Sturgeon thing.
If we were going to gain any Scottish viewers, they've now left. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Kitty fuck. There's no way I'm listening to that shit.
Right. So, the main topic we had. It was discussed what I wanted it to be before, but I think we've got a better idea. So, the main question is, what is the best Star Wars game that's been released? And we've got a nice Star Wars logo as well, just because. So, we need to put some main contenders in there first. So, who would we have if I said to you, Star Wars, you're going to play a game, what would come to mind first?
I mean, I don't want to say the obvious one, but I'm going to get out of the way.
Yep.
Knights of the Old Republic. You can have one or two.
One? Oh, no, that's even a bigger... One or two. Surely it has to be one or the other.
God, you put me on the spot here. I mean, if I had to choose, I'd prefer number 2 because you get straight into the action. You have force powers straight away. You don't have to go through a bit of a grind to get them.
Yeah,
also, Bastila was a bit of a bitch. I ain't got a lot of time for that hoe. So, I'm personally going to say number 2 because you can mix up the squad as well. You can kill off the squad more. You can have a different squad. It's kind of got that Mass Effect feel to it, even though it was pre-Mass Effect. Sith Lords.
Fair play. Young, Star Wars, what are we saying?
I don't know. I did like the Force Awakens games. They were both good. The second one was a bit... The first one was good because it was just a good game, and they made an effort to make it fit into like the overall story. The second one was still a decent game, but that was just one they were like, nah, screw it. Like, he's back alive again. He's like, oh, okay, well.
They're like, oh, hold on.
Didn't expect the first game to be long.
They just saw the money.
Yeah. Like,
hold on, the game sold well.
He's been cloned. He's like, okay. And I have only played a little bit of it, but I've actually got Fallen Order on my Xbox, like the newest one, and that is pretty good. That's more like kind of people always said like it's Souls-esque. It's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's like Dark Souls really. I think Dark Souls is a lot harder. It's less like that. What do you know? One thing I want to say about that is that I do think it's really cool because it's Disney made this whole thing where they were like, all the Star Wars games and shows and all this other stuff that comes out, they're now part of the overall story. So it's like they actually made a mode on it where it literally says when you load into the game, if you want to just know the story, select this. And I haven't clicked it. I'm assuming it basically plays the game on rails for you. But I do think that's quite cool that they're just like, there's no way you can die if you select this. It will get you the whole way through, and you won't have to keep dying and having to beat the thing if you just want the story. Okay.
I like that idea. Just a bit more of immersive gameplay, single player. Again, like I've seen a lot of the community, like Everall games, just being like, where all our single player campaign games, everyone's being like, at the moment, everyone's just smashing out all the multiplayer stuff. There's no single games coming out at all. Like Skyrim's like 10+ years old. That's like people will consider like a single player game. So yeah, I kind of like the idea of that.
Come on then, Gibbo. Let's have it. What have you got left in the bank, in the Star Wars bank?
There is a lot. I think you've definitely mentioned two of the ones I was contemplating to say, but I think back when I was playing my PS2 and just understanding how you could like adapt the game and make it amazing, just the old OG Battlefront 2. There is nothing better than in a space. You just there's I don't know. I think when you made the custom maps, getting on Kashyyyk. You could do the one where it was like Sith versus the Jedi and you could literally be Yoda jumping around. You could do the one when you're in the space battle and you fly the ship and land in the enemy's hangar, and just like everything like that. And I forgot as well, they even had a campaign in that kind of game as well, where kind of you went down onto like Naboo and tried to like kill all like the princess on there and the Jedi were there, and obviously I think
the 66 happens.
Yeah, I quite like the idea as well that even though it seems a bit like you're a guy, you kill someone, you die, and you come back, you kind of are, because it's like you had like a 500 kind of lives per team, didn't you, in a way? You would kind of feel like if you were that guy that killed like 10 and then you die, you feel a bit like, you know what, I tipped the edge a bit there, that's not bad, you know? And then like you gotta go like capture some points and then like change round, and then better kill sprees you had, you get to like unlock like Vader and shit like that. That was pretty good. So I'd have to say Battlefront 2, just for the replayability.
I went down and my brother was playing the new Battlefront 2 the other day.
That's something we could mention as well.
Which apparently wasn't as well. Apparently, from what I've read, I've never played it, but he was saying it's pretty good actually. And from what I've read, both those games were like complete dog. The first one was apparently terrible until they added all the added content to it.
Yeah.
And this one was obviously had all that shit at the start with the microtransactions and paying for all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But now is apparently okay as well. I mean, it's fucking EA, isn't it? At the end of the day,
yeah. The one thing I'd say, and this is as a console game, not as a PC gamer, is the Battlefronts on the Xbox One. They just take forever to load. They take so long.
What was that on the 360?
No, on the Xbox One.
Xbox One, wow.
It takes so long to load, and I know they're going to change out with the new consoles, and it's going to be a thing of the past, but that really killed that game for me, because you'd sit there for 10 minutes waiting to do a challenge. And they didn't have Galactic Conquest, which was, let's all face it, the best part of Battlefront 2.
Definitely. So, yeah, I remember when that game, because I remember in the big Star Wars like Reddit like community, everyone was like, oh, we need like a new kind of game. Like they weren't ever going to make like another KOTOR. I think the company, like, I don't know what happened with that actually, but that wasn't going to happen. For example, The Force Unleashed came out, that was good. Obviously, they made a second one. That was all right.
Have they still got their MMO at the moment as well?
Very true. I forgot you. Didn't you?
I have played that, and it was.
Talk us through that, young, because I know you played that through. But...
it was weird. I mean, it's an MMO, so it's always not going to be as fun when. Like, obviously, we've been playing WoW together now. WoW this year has been way more fun when I played it last year on my own. Like, MMOs, just by their nature, are always more fun when you play with someone else. But it was decent. BioWare did it, so. If I remember rightly, it had one of the best stories I've ever had in like an MMO game in terms of quests and all that stuff. Like I did the Sith side, and you go the whole way through Korriban, and you go, there's like it's not just like in WoW or something where a lot of it is text quest. It was all like fully voiced, pretty much. Every character had like a dialogue wheel, everything like that. It was good, but it wasn't a great MMO, if that makes sense. Like I don't know why they didn't just bring it out as KOTOR 3 or something. So if they'd have done that, would have been great.
Are you more talking about the gameplay was good then? So like...
Oh yeah. The gameplay itself is like it was a great game to play, and it had MMO elements, but it was just. I mean, obviously, I didn't play it enough to really get into it, but I hit like later on levels, and it just wasn't that like the dungeons and the raids and stuff weren't that fun because it wasn't like WoW, where like you'd come to so it's like WoW, you come to a boss, okay. maybe you know what to expect, but they're going to throw stuff on the floor. They're going to have this. They're going to have this mechanic. In Star Wars, they had mechanics, but it wasn't the same because you were fighting a lot of times like other Jedi. It wasn't. It sounds weird, but you're so used to fighting like a big monster, and I'm going to look for this on the ground, and then we've got to do this, and then okay, it's got this mechanics, we've got to do that. When you're just fighting like another person with a lightsaber, except for they just have a really big health bar. I always just kind of was like, okay, yeah. Whereas the story, like the actual questing, was the best question I've ever done because, like I say, there was a good story on it, but it was just the MMO part and everything else was a bit. Yeah. I mean, if that game wasn't Star Wars, I don't think it would have lasted as long as it has.
It just kind of had that like name to it. The kind of.
I think because it's a Star Wars game, there's always going to be people who love Star Wars who are like, I'll play this.
I guess as well, like with WoW, they can kind of like make things big and large for how like much they've kind of. How well they've kind of built the story in the background to it all, and how much it had behind it with like Warcraft 3. I guess if Star Wars kind of being like finished and done, and you kind of already know like what the hardest enemy's going to be, like a Sith or someone, they're not going to be like these massive monstrous things you've got to kill. It's going to be like one dude or something, or trying to do this. So it's quite hard to kind of make new stuff when it's kind of already done for you. I guess in a way with like WoW, they can kind of like reach back to old content or make new stuff and make it on a larger scale. But with like Star Wars, it's kind of like different planets, probably a few spaceships and kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
well, the only thing I would say though is it was all in Old Republic? Question mark. But it was in a basically a time where they hadn't done any of the films. So it was like they did kind of have free reign in terms of how the story went. Like I said, the story itself was fine. I never thought there was anything wrong with the actual story. It was just like the actual gameplay of the MMO part I wasn't that taken upon.
Speaking of another game we didn't mention, did you guys ever hear that Squadrons, the kind of new one?
That's out now, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like I haven't. I think I've got a few friends that play, but I haven't asked them how it was played. But it's kind of more like you kind of are the guy in the fucking X-wing kind of thing, or the Y-wing, flying around shooting. I don't know how.
You can do Imperial as well, can't you? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't know how.
TIE fighters as well,
because obviously in those things in like flying games, if you compare it to like a racing game, for example, in like when you have like a vehicle or something, if you play like a Gran Turismo, like you have people that play Gran Turismo like to the max, like they'll do the corners properly, different gears, manually do that kind of stuff, and that's how they get the immersion in it. So like that's how they like it. With this kind of game, I don't know how much you can put into like flying a spaceship as best as you can to try and like shoot someone down, to try and be that kind of like. That kind of like how do you actually do that kind of like tactically and well and engage in each time how it's going to be different? Like Luke, I know you when you played Battlefield 2, like you were someone who always like flew the plane and played that. Like I know that wasn't a big part in that game, but is that something you think? Did you ever play those games like Ace Squadron where like you were literally just a guy in a plane shooting someone down? Like is there how different can they make it each time?
It's a tough one. It's one of those ones where you enjoy it for what it is. If you're good at that sort of thing, it's great fun. If you're not good at it, if you're not used to flying games, you're probably going to pick it up and put it back down because some guy who spent 30 hours in a jet is going to come along and pluck you out of the sky, and then he'll do it 5 times over. And by the time you've even figured out the buttons, you're already too frustrated to really want to put the time in. So I can see the appeal of it. I think with flying games, it's quite tough to really have an objective other than just shoot down the opposition. I think if you go back to Battlefront 2 again, the thing I liked about that was you're around a massive starship, so you've got an obstacle that you can navigate around, you can land on, you can start using your demolitions to go in and sabotage it. It wasn't just a case of I've got to do over here.
Yeah, that was yeah. I know what you mean for Battlefront 2 and that.
Yeah,
that was good.
I don't know if they've put that into Squadrons, if there is an objective, but a lot of the time with those games, it does feel like maybe like a bit like a grind, just a bit of a, meat grinder who's going to die first and how many deaths. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to play.
Yeah, I think it as well. Was it made by EA? I'm not too sure. It kind of sounds like it probably was, but I guess sometimes in those games.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure all of Star Wars games are at least published by EA. I think they're in a contract with them now. So like Respawn made the thingy one, but Last Order or whatever it's like.
Fallen Order one, yeah.
Fallen Order. Sorry, I think Respawn made that, but I'm pretty sure every single one by the contract has to be published through EA.
Yeah, you kind of feel as well, like with that, how much is like behind a paywall that like your ship goes faster, or have you got to download, get the different kind of like weapons, or you kind of like, do you have to get to a certain level till you get like a better improvement of what happens? Like, do you get better rockets if you get this far? If you play 50 hours, do you get better like, I don't know, turns or something? So it's a difficult one to judge as well. I think it's kind of the people that are going to love that game are the people that would play with like a joystick, as if like you're going to play as if you're in a plane and you actually really like that kind of stuff. Maybe the casual gamer
Yeah.
might pick it up like you say and put it down, but it wouldn't be something I'd want to touch personally either. So
No.
yeah, we've kind of got to choose now. Then I don't know how hard. I don't know how we can kind of compare kind of like KOTOR and Force Awakens and Battlefront 2 together. So we can kind of compare, I'd say, like the RPG genre. Like we could compare maybe the Force Awakens to the Fallen Order. Young, did you play the Force Awakens as well as the new one?
Yeah.
What would you say was like a comparison between the two? Would you say?
They're kind of different. They're very different. Force Awakens was way more like God mode, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense from the stories. Obviously, the story of the first one is you were like a genetically engineered clone made to be Darth Vader's apprentice. So you were like, in both those games, you were like really strong. There's a scene, I think it might have been the first one, where you like literally brings down a Star Destroyer with the Force
Oh
or
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
that was. I remember that was
Into the
ridiculous.
building, if I remember
Yeah.
rightly. That was really cool. And like, so like all that was all that kind of stuff. Obviously haven't finished Fallen Order, but in that one, the story is you were an apprentice when Order 66 happened, and you basically just been on the run since then.
Oh,
So you
wow.
aren't like you're not like some super strong force user or anything like that. You've been like suppressing your force powers the whole time. So they're kind of different. Um, Fallen Order seemed fine. I mean, I screwed myself over because I was like, oh, I'll play this game easy. And I put it on really hard difficulty, and then I died really fucking quick.
You sound like
Um,
doing the Dark Souls. Yeah, I'll play this game.
Yeah, I was like, it'll be fine. It's only a Star Wars game. I was like, I'm dead again. Well,
Oh, do you know what? Just remind me actually. Don't we haven't mentioned? Any of you guys ever playing the Lego Star Wars games? Now those,
I did. I'm sure I did play one.
they're weird. I think I played it at a friend's house, like one of my younger cousin's house, but it was never something that you kind of walk past in the shop and be like, you never go past the shop and be like, oh yeah, I'm definitely getting that when that comes out. It's not one of those games, but it's just like fun and quirky and a bit like things to do through the story. So that was quite good for a contender, but I don't think it's up there. But it was fun.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I've played Fallen Order and I've played Force Unleashed, and if I had to choose, I'd probably say Force Unleashed because it just felt a little more fun. I've played Fallen Order for maybe 4 planets now, and it's a bit samey. I'm not saying Force Unleashed isn't, because it definitely is. But even when it was samey, you got the cool shit, the fun shit, the electric lightning, the pulling over AT-ATs. You got it earlier, so you were more engaged. We all like to work hard for a reward in a game, but Fallen Order's not given me that adrenaline just yet. So
Yeah.
if I had to choose, it would probably be Force Unleashed.
Fair enough. I guess I haven't played Fallen Order personally, but I did quite like the Force Unleashed, and I kind of understand what you're coming from, Young, saying like you kind of like the God mode. You kind of like you just given the dual lightsabers, and you can launch them. You can put someone in the air, throw one at someone, electrocute the other guy, and just like pull a destroyer out of the sky. So yeah, I kind of like that kind of like superiority aspect to it. It was pretty good. It was quite fast paced as well. I kind of felt you kind of like killed
Yeah.
something, next mob, maybe do a certain mechanic, next mob, kill this. The bosses are quite. I wouldn't say they were insanely like difficult, but they weren't that long either. So it's kind of like you kind of go through the game a bit quick, and then like the story's a bit of a curveball as well, so it's quite engaging. So yeah, I quite enjoyed that. It was good. If we go back onto, I'd say KOTOR, what would you say are like the main strengths that would bring someone to play like that kind of RPG Star Wars role?
I mean, if you're a person who just likes a storyline,
Try not to be biased that you love the game, Luke. Bearing in mind, for everyone that is going to listen to this, there was a time at university when me and Luke together, and I had my iPad Mini out, and we're in a lecture, on the iPad as you do.
Well, you
listening
have to
to
show
it,
it,
right?
you have
No.
to shut up.
This-
Right. Yeah. But you had an iPad mini straight away, it's fine.
Well, he had loads, man. No. Anyway, so we're on the App Store, and Luke's like, Jord, if I give you like 15 quid, can I get this? I'm like, Luke, what you on about? Basically, KOTOR is on the Apple Store, and I'm like, Luke, we're literally like we're through a lecture here, like a seminar. We got at least do something. And he's like, no. So I
Yeah,
literally give him my iPad for like what, maybe only 2 or 3 weeks. I don't even own it anymore. It's just Luke's, and every single day, like in the house, walking back from football, walking to the shops, in the car, in lectures, in uni, he's there just sat
Driving your
playing.
It's fine, I can balance the iPad on the top.
Just
Don't worry about
playing,
right here in the steering wheel.
playing, grinding KOTOR, and I've never seen you so happy ever. To be honest, I don't think you've ever got over that really.
No, it was it was all downhill from there. I mean, it is a game that's got a fantastic storyline, and if you're someone who, like me, who you don't just want to be spoon fed the entire game, you want to go out and do extra things to get the rewards, or evolve your team that works with you in a Mass Effect style. Because I'll be honest, those type of games are an absolute joy to play for me. KOTOR is the Star Wars Maniac version of a Mass Effect, and it's brilliant. It's just great fun. I think the only thing that anyone could ever criticize about it is maybe the mechanic for fighting, which is very much freeze, choose what you want to do, and then watch it play out.
It sounds like the old Final Fantasy kind of style of kind of like you get your turn, your like time gauge fills up, you get your turn, and kind of like touch and go kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest weakness about it. But when you get used to that, and you do get used to it, it's just so much fun to sit back and watch the game unfold.
They're actually making a new Mass Effect. Just as you said that, I thought I'd throw that out there. They announced it the other day.
Oh god, don't mention that to Luke. It was so.
Well, yeah, not after Andromeda. Oh god,
no.
what a bad time.
Why did I buy Andromeda? I knew it'd be shit. I mean, I got.
Well, I actually read all the. I was going to say I actually read all the reviews saying it's dog shit. I went, I'm still buying it. You're all right. You must all be wrong.
This feeds 3 to 4 people. You are wrong.
Yeah, literally. Well,
oh god, yeah, KOTOR classic, very good.
Yeah, it was a very good game. I would say though that like you were saying there about the combat and stuff. I think it's hard. It depends, but I think it's harder and harder to get people to play it these days just because of how old it is.
Yeah, you can't.
It's like any of those games. Once you get to a certain point, things look a certain way and play a certain way, which was fine 10, 15 years ago. But now, like, things have come on so much that it's almost like you just play and you're like, God, it's so clunky. It's like when people, I remember when they re-released that Resident Evil. I'm pretty sure they re-released Resident Evil, remastered like the first one or something, and people actually complained because they literally just upgraded the graphics and that was it. They were like, oh, it's the same story. Everyone's like, we just came out for like the PS1. We're on like the Xbox One era now. Like, surely you must have been able to do some quality of life stuff to this. Like, nah, it's fine. It's a remake.
Oh god, yeah. Well, I think if we're only complaining about like the combat system, it's kind of stood its time like through. Then, if we're only complaining about that, like as you said, the story is good. All the side quests feel meaningful. You actually could, I think as well, the replayability is there as well, because obviously when you get off the first planet, you can go to different ones, collect different companions in certain orders. As you mentioned with your squad, you could literally have the same 3 people in a certain time and not change them throughout. If you take different people on side quests, you'll get different extensions to other side quests where you can get other stuff. So I do like that kind of replayability to the game. It's quite good.
Yeah.
I like it indeed, yeah. So KOTOR is definitely a winner. Force Awakens, definitely a winner as well. What are your thoughts?
If you had to choose one between
Force
Awakens and Battlefront 2.
Well, I want to get. We haven't discussed how amazing Battlefront 2 actually is yet. Can we just get to this part? So, you are literally flung into many planets, different space battles, flying around like it's endless. You can do the select where. You can choose the order of planets that you go to. I remember when I was playing, there was a part where I couldn't remember how you actually fought as the Jedi or the Sith against each other. And when I found that was like another 3 hours of game time just done. Got either side playing as Boba Fett, just like handgunning everyone down in the air. No one can touch you apart from your Yoda because you can jump about 30 foot in the air. That was a bit ridiculous, but yeah, the game was insane. I loved it. Did you guys play it a lot at all?
They still play Battlefront 2 on Steam, I'm pretty sure.
There you go.
I'm pretty sure it still goes on. I mean, I've got it on my Steam, but I'm not sure. It's not installed anymore.
I'm pretty sure I may have it on my other screen right now.
Yeah, I enjoyed Battlefront. I enjoyed it back when you couldn't even blimmin' play online. I had it for like PS2 or whatever it was back in the day, and like couldn't even. I think you could play online, but you had to Ethernet in or something, didn't you? Back then, I can't remember it.
God, the day.
That was back in the day when you hot seated next to each other.
It was a great game. It was just one of those games where it was something completely different in terms of yeah, like there was no Star Wars games at that point that were like, yeah, you've got to play as a rebel trooper or a stormtrooper for like the majority of the games. Well, why? Like, yeah, because you're in a battle. Because it's a war, mate. Like that's what
Yeah.
happens. Like, oh, okay.
I think
And,
like
Average
yeah.
Joe.
the very start of the level, like when you just load in and like you come out of like the hangar or something, and you see like you get into a ship and you're like, there is literally like 5 other ships flying out with me with like 10 fighters behind me. And the second you come in the middle, you're
Oh.
like, oh, actually, I'm in a battle here. You're not just like,
I would say though, I hate the flight missions. Piss me off.
what?
So I was like,
The space
because
battles.
yeah, because the hero classes were like Anakin in a ship or something. It's like I want to play as Anakin with his lightsaber. I don't want to play as Anakin flying a ship. Like Anakin with his ship isn't any better than me with my ship because I'm useless in the ship.
You say that he was play Anakin anyway, really. You know, the spoiled kid. You don't want to play that.
Not
guy.
not the younglings, that's for sure.
Not the young. Oh no. What are we going to do? Well, let me tell you a story.
Master Anakin, you didn't think I'd let you down, did you, lads? You did.
Oh, quality, insane.
Bless you.
Right, we've all given our verdicts forward. We've got KOTOR 2, Force Awakens, and Battlefront 2. If we had to choose one, Young, you can go first. Put the pressure on.
I mean, I don't even think the game I'd put forward, I wouldn't even pick really. Yeah, it's either KOTOR or Battlefront. I mean, I prefer RPGs, but I probably played more of Battlefront just because it was a more like fun. They're just two completely different games. That's the problem. Like KOTOR is a much more engrossing game than Battlefront, but Battlefront you could pick up now. Like I wouldn't want to just if somebody just went to you, if someone was in the middle of a Battlefront game right now and they went, "Here's a controller." Obviously, we're in a different time in the world, so you would sanitize your hands and the controller, and then you would begin playing. And you'd also be 2 meters apart. You'd have to launch it at you. You go, "Here, have this!" And you go, "Oh shit!" But after you got through all that, you could just start playing straight away. Whereas with like KOTOR, you'd have to be like, "Right, what have you selected? What have you done? What's every character? Who's your best one? What is it? You know, there's
have you gone light side, dark side? I need to know these answers.
Yeah. What am I supposed to be doing here?
Have we gone soldier? Are you scout? We need to know.
I think they're both really, really, really good games, and they are both games that you can still play to this day, which shows how good they are. But if I had to pick one for myself personally, it probably would be Battlefront. But I don't dislike KOTOR or anything like that. I think Battlefront's easier to just jump into.
Yeah, I like your reasoning. You can just jump into it as well. I like that. I was going to ask Luke what he liked, but it looks to me as if he's kind of downloading KOTOR right now. So I'll give him the floor though, Luke. What would you prefer?
It's already downloaded, lad. It's already downloaded. Do you know what? I thought about it, and it's so 50-50. But Young makes a really good point about being able to just pick it up and put it down. Unfortunately, I am swayed ever so slightly by the fact that they've tried to redo them and they've just gone down the pan. And I would have to say KOTOR, I think, because I'm the kind of person who I like to just put myself in a game and play it. I think Battlefront's more of a multiplayer game, which I've got a lot of time for. But when I'm talking about a game, it's typically a game that I'm playing on my own. And for that reason, I'd probably go KOTOR.
Fair play. One apiece. I like both your ideas in terms of one's just pick up and play, have a good time, go for it, and one is I want to sit down for a few hours. I want to already know what I'm going to pick before. I already know who's going to be in the party. I want to know what order I'm going to do the planets in before you've even done like the first quest kind of stuff. So I think just to not sit on the fence, I'm going to choose KOTOR as well. I think just the storyline behind it, the replayability. Like I think it was one of the first like RPG games. Like obviously. Force Awakens, when you play, you kind of like have a lightsaber. When you play Battlefront 2, you just become one of the Jedi's if you got like a good killing streak, for example. But I think playing for like hours in that KOTOR game RPG to collect the crystal, the parts, to then just be like, you've got a lightsaber now. You thought like, yes, I'm the fucking shit now. Let's do this. And I think that I kind of like that good feeling of just working your way for it, making it meaningful. Yeah, I'm gonna choose KOTOR as well. Right.
Excellent.
There we have it.
There we have it.
Discussion.
Decisive winner.
I know. Whoa, you say decisive. It was close. I'm not going to lie.
I thought you were going to go Battlefront, if I'm honest. I didn't expect it.
Reminiscing the days of landing in, setting all the C4s in the engine. Oh god. Okay, let's not go back any further because I might change my mind. But yeah, There we have it.
One thing I will say for any of those Star Wars fans out there who like Galactic Conquest, and one game that didn't get mentioned here, as a strat head, someone who loves a good strategy game, Empire at War is a fantastic game, and I would 100% recommend it for anyone who likes the Galactic Conquest side of Battlefront, because you can do your space battles and your ground battles. Okay, it's not first person, it's strategy, but it's again,
Is it like
you'll lose a couple of days easy.
Is the graphics and kind of like gameplay related? Would you say like Age of Empires 2 kind of thing, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no, I'd say it's more advanced than Age of Empires 2. It's one of those games where it's probably more along the lines of Red Alert, I guess. It's probably a closer game to it. You can also do things, if you don't like strategy but you want to be amongst the fight, you can change the camera angle and it goes to an automatic cinematic angle.
Ooh.
And you're in there and it's flying you around the battle. And then all of a sudden you can pop out and then you go all the way out into space and you can help in your space battle and build a new space station to help the team on the floor. It's one of those games I like because there's layers to it about what you're doing.
I like that. That sounds good, actually. That's probably something like I know, Young, you've played like Civ Rev. Is that something you can do like Civ Rev? Then that's probably copied from like you kind of sort out the planet and then you kind of like would zoom back maybe in the city itself, and then you could like zoom back to maybe like the country and then the continent.
Civ Rev is much less about at least I think about the actual battles than it is the like city building, basically. Like Civ Rev is all about finding a good spot to put like good plot for your first city, growing your city, moving around. Like you can win a game of Civ Rev without even fighting, just by culture winning. So Civ Rev's not really like that. I've got Empire at War, so I know exactly what you're talking about. It's not really. It's more like Stellaris, I would say, than it is something like Civ Rev, where obviously that's just because Stellaris is in space as well, so it's easy to compare. Yeah. But yeah, it's not really. Civ Rev is obviously much more about building your city. Each unit takes up a block. You can make armies and stuff in Civ Rev, but I'm also dreadful at Civ Rev, so I take it with a pinch of salt. But I always thought Civ Rev was more about the city building than anything like that.
Like the economy win.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you can like culture win. You can science win. Yeah, Levy used to be able to complete a war win. Even if you like start taking cities off people, it would just get to the point where it just couldn't get any further.
Fair enough. Well, there we have it, people. KOTOR. I wouldn't say clear winner, but it's up there as one of the best. Thank you very much. Ending thoughts. Anything else we haven't said that you want to say or put forward? Like Luke jumped on Empire at War because I know it wasn't mentioned. Anything else Star Wars related? Not even games, actually. Anything at all. Oh,
well, shout out to Jedi Power Battles on PlayStation 1. That's all I'm going to throw in there.
Never played that.
Jedi Academy.
Oh, I played it. Was Academy the sequel, the prequel to KOTOR? Was it kind of like meant to be the after thing, like Jedi Training Academy or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've played it, but I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a sequel or anything like that.
Oh, okay. Well, then again, speaking of Star Wars, we could probably talk about Mandalorian. How's everyone through it? Everyone finished?
Of course.
Oh.
Have you finished it yet, George?
I'm on episode 3.
So why did you even bring up this? Why did you even bring it up? You brought up the one thing that you haven't finished watching that you know everyone else has. You're like, has everyone finished it? Yeah. Oh, I haven't. Okay, well that's that conversation over before it started. That was good.
I wanted to get everyone's thought of how the series was, of how well they've done it.
Yeah. Really good. Really,
when
really
you
good.
Your game, we'll talk about it. That's the next episode.
All right.
Excellent.
Okay, we'll continue on a bit more Star Wars though. Why would you compare this kind of recent, I'd say, 10 years of films compared to like the older ones? How would you kind of like relate? If you could like rate the kind of newer ones.
Trash.
I didn't mind. Force Awakens was all right.
When you say all trash though, like you can't say for all of them. I thought some of them were really, really good and really.
I didn't think I wouldn't. Do you know what the problem was? Force Awakens was a decent start. I didn't mind Force Awakens. It was a bit samey, but that's fine. If they were gonna, the problem was they had J.J. Abrams direct the first and the last one, and then just randomly had Rian Johnson in the middle, and it just didn't fit. Like if you were gonna do that, just let J.J. Abrams direct all three of them, and he can just, just despite what every story is, he can just do it the whole way through. The issue was that he went from one person starting a story. For some reason, they let Rian Johnson come in and just go like, "I'm gonna fuck with everything he's just done." Okay, and then he came back in for the last one. And he was like, "Well, I kind of liked what I was doing, so I'm gonna try and just course correct it." And it ended up looking really weird, where it just didn't need to.
I know.
I thought Solo and Rogue One were alright. I didn't mind either.
I don't know about Solo, I kind of feel like everyone already knew what was going to happen. It was kind of like, well, he's obviously going to get the Millennium Falcon. This is obviously going to happen as well. I kind of felt like everyone knew what the whole storyline was going to be.
Yeah.
It was good still.
I think because all the reviews I saw for it before I went and saw it were like, it's not great. When I went and watched it, I was like, that was alright. I'm pleasantly surprised.
True.
I don't think they could have. It wasn't bad, but you're right. That's the problem with a prequel that you already know the ending to. You can always fill the gaps as soon as you watch the movie, and it's kind of just slotting in the puzzle pieces.
There's just like filler put in just to make it the film kind of thing.
Yeah. Whereas Rogue One, I thought was really well made
Yes.
because actually it was all new. It was all their own idea, and then it fitted into the movies. The one thing I didn't like about the newest trilogy was that they just brought in elements of the Force and elements of the movies that they'd never alluded to before in the past, such as Leia surviving space. You don't do that. You can't just survive.
This is the problem is then the stuff like that is in the extended universe stuff and all this other stuff they've done. It's just they've never put it on the screen. So it's like unless you bother to read the books or do this or that, it's like you're just never going to know that ever.
Yeah, you just gonna have one entire fan base of Star Wars fight against each other, and aren't you? Like the one people that say like they think they're not the real fans because they just watch the films and think it can't happen to the this can happen and this should have happened, and then you kind of like lose out on both. Because I feel like a lot of people that will kind of like really ingrind with Star Wars want like certain their favourite characters from a book on the screen. They want like spin-offs of this person, and they wanted this person to be included. Like, we wanted Darth Maul more in this part, and it's just like he's never mentioned again. And the people that watch the films just like, well, that can't happen. Where obviously it might have happened before, so you just can't win anywhere really with those kind of things. To be honest,
you're never going to be able to win with Star Wars now. Anyway, it's too big. It's one of those things. Yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah. I'd say the last one was pretty good though. Was the best of the three because they kind of just grew some balls and went with it and just like, do you know what? Fuck it, it's Palpatine's daughter. You can either
that's what I mean. That's what annoyed me the most about it is that it's not even that I disliked the third one on its own. It just made no sense after the second one. And it's like if you just let the guy who made the last and the first one do this, which was clearly his plan the whole time, if you just let him do it, like the second one, I don't know, it's done now.
Done and dusted.
It was a waste of my fucking time. That's all I need to know.
Hey man, we got loads of good games because of it. What are you talking about?
No. Okay.
But nah. Well, to be honest, we'll cut it there. Star Wars done and dusted. Thanks very much for everyone. So, I thought of a few ideas for next week, because obviously, in the future, if we ever get people to really listen in and put some views forward, it'd be nice to have some comments saying like, next week can you talk about this topic, or this is a question I've got, can you discuss? I think one thing that we've learned from this is when we all know one topic, we can just go for it. Like we've been speaking for like an hour now, just like constantly. So I think next week we're going to talk about League of Legends and the community in the game itself, why it's good, why it's bad, how it became big. If you want to start playing it now, if you want to start playing it now, what would you tell your younger self before you play? And don't say don't play the game, because we're not going to say that. So we'll talk a bit more about that, and then we'll get going. But apart from that, we also need a name for the show because we don't even know what we're going to call it yet. But apart from that, thanks for watching and listening. If you are. Well, there you go. We'll do a vote. All right. You're not voting.
Kotal.
Kotal. God. Right. Cheers, guys. Nice one, and I'll catch you soon. Peace.
Take it easy.